know my story, right? Rise to fame from the pain to glory, right? Heard from a source.
Yeah, so Steve Cabalar, owner of Cabalar Meat Co, and we're moving our operation from Main Street, Lancaster, over to Lancaster.
Awesome. And doing this move, what are kind of the benefits and features of kind of making such a big move for your business?
Yeah, so for us, it's larger space, a larger kitchen. In lead times, like in most silly, this is our capacity and ability to fit bodies on the line to cook faster. So we have a bit of a bigger line here, bigger prep kitchen, more butchery space, just more seating space, all capacity, nice outdoor area, parking lot, event space, a lot of efficiencies.
Perfect. And then for the rest of this is just conversations you and I, so we'll just pretend that doesn't even exist.
Sure.
The rest of it's just you and I having a conversation. So I want to talk about your story. So everybody that's been here in the local Lancaster area has very much experienced what you have to offer. They very much have seen on social media the different style you do to everything else. You're not a traditional deli. You're not a traditional sandwich shop for this area. What you are is a traditional sandwich shop where you're transporting cultures and bridging gaps. So kind of talk a little bit about the culture of your business, and then we'll jump into your backstory leading up to why that's so important to you guys.
Sure, yeah. So, our core values is, how we source our food. So we work with farmers directly. So our beef farm, our pork farm, we work with Myers Springdale on our beef, here, Rich Farms on our pork. We've been doing that since day one. So that's one of our core values that's never changed, is sourcing a properly raised product which we believe will carry through the end product when you stick that burger on the mouth and you taste the difference. So for us, it's knowledge and sourcing and quality, and then carrying that through on every aspect. So say you have like barbecue bacon burger, we're curing and smoking that bacon in-house, we're butchering that pig where that belly came from, we're butchering that beef down and trimming it and grinding it and making our own patties. We're working with a local bakery, concert bakery on the buns. We're making our own aioli from egg yolks, building that up in-house. So every piece of the sandwich that comes to the customer has been well thought about, and we try to be creative too. So we'll have a standard menu, and then we'll come up with some fun stuff and regular for questions.
Yeah, that's really, that's a great marketing aspect to what you're doing as well. I mean, you put that stuff on social media, you get these big gooey burgers that are out there, these big slot cheesesteaks, and it's just like beautifully like put together and just like ready for anybody. So that's awesome. So talk a little bit about what, from the sandwich aspect of things, and when you were choosing path in food and beverage, what made you choose this path as opposed to any other cuisine or any other style that's out there?
Sure, yeah. So for me personally, I used to work catering, so that was most of my background was catering. So then I had a corporate catering business in Philly for about 3 years. Previous to that was special event catering. And then for me, it was like, I was just trying to see what am I going to be doing in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It wasn't corporate catering, lunch trays, that sort of thing. So for me, I wanted to give it something that was just a little bit more mindful of, where I was sourcing my product. Something I just believed in, instead of just something that was basically for profit. Then that was our business model, right? It wasn't like, oh, we really love that source, really love quality, not that it was bad quality, but really kind of change up the mindset of that. Where does my passion really lie, and how can I kind of hone in on that? And, so I went and did a full animal apprenticeship, butchery apprenticeship for about 3 or 4 months, which kind of gave you that, pull that background knowledge, getting into this business, that you can't really elsewhere.
And that's your strategy being a value over volume strategy is really that makes a big impact, and it kind of reflects obviously upon everything you're doing with tech. And really in this place here, I mean, once this is open here, anybody that can see it, this is the attention to detail and precision. It's not when you walk in here, it's not the feeling like you're going to walk into a sandwich shop. Sure. And it's like, that's the part, you elevate that to another level. And I love any time that somebody's taking something that's seen as a commodity or an everyday thing and amplifying it to a place of making an experience. And I think that's what you've done so well here. And taking one culture or one experience, making a hybrid version, doing your twist on it, and bringing it to another area has its own challenges. So when you started, did you ever have resistance from whether it be, with that high quality of ingredients, probably have a different price point for burgers and sandwiches than they might be used to in other places? Did you ever get resistance on that, or?
Yeah, I don't think there's resistance necessarily from a price point. We try to make our food approachable, comparable to other models. I think having a somewhat of a volume model. So it's like quality, but also volume. So if we move a lot of them, we can still keep our price point at a reasonable place. So it was never really a price point battle. I think, with anything in business, there's always challenges and, pivots and moments when you realize like, hey, this might not be the right angle. I think those might have been some of the challenges along the way. Starting off as we had like 14 seats and we're mostly butcher. That was the idea. I was like, oh, I'm going to put a butcher shop. Quickly realized within the first year I needed to start pivoting. The food was what people were coming in for. They weren't buying out of meat case. So we went from 14 seats, now we have 60 seats now at our current spot with 20 outdoor, and then over here we'll have like 160 seats with 60 outdoor. So it's kind of just pivoting and saying, okay, hey, we want to open a butcher shop. That was our goal. But hey, those are our core values is sourcing meat. So we never stopped doing that, right? So we kept our core values of sourcing the meat, just instead of selling it in butcher kits, now we're selling it as
So really, your business model wasn't as much you changing it as much as your consumers coming in and you seeing what they're buying, and they're like, okay, I'm going to react to the consumer there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big hang up for people in business, and they're not willing to kind of pivot your model. Because it doesn't have to be drastically, but even just slightly to kind of understand what the customer wants. How can you match what the customer wants with what your value system is?
There's power in that, and that's something that really a lot of people don't realize. And I think that being able to understand the data and putting the ego side, that's really that pivotal moment. And I think that's crucial for you to do this. And what it's obviously worked out for you. It's like you keep compounding and you're stacking, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you still have the food truck and everything like that as well? Or?
Yeah, so food truck, we're still rocking on that. So we do that for our catering, that's our catering arm. So we book events for that. Mostly focusing on special events, weddings, but we'll throw in some sprinkling Spear Fest as well. So
nice. And when people are coming out here and stuff like that, what types of customers? Is it like families, friends, professionals, or everything and everything in between?
Sure. So we do, our client base is mostly 25 to 45 is probably the majority. We'll do a mix of everybody, but that's probably the majority. We get a lot of college. We get a lot of young families, things like that. But it'll be anybody really, kind of a mixed bag as far as who we get here. But a lot of young families, things like that.
Let's pivot to your story. Now, I read a little bit on the website, and I have not asked around if this is verified.
Oh, yeah.
But is that a verified story that's on the website? I figured that.
My boys had some fun.
That's good. I like it.
The Creative Studio Thread, they do all my web design and graphic stuff, and they had some fun.
I can kind of see that. That's real.
It was funny. I did a news interview, or like one of the cooking demos last week. They were like, "So, is this true that you graduated high school at 12?" And I was like, "No, that's just them having fun."
From an SEO standpoint, you got a lot there, man. You should start getting some organic.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Well, since you didn't graduate at 10, let's talk about your 12. Let's talk about your story.
Sure.
Let's go to high school. You graduated in high school.
Sure.
Did you have a fire of entrepreneurship at that age and it prior? Go ahead back to when it started. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say so. I got into the industry and, went to college school. So did that for 3 years or so. And, during that time, worked in different places, worked while I was in school, did externships, and things started going in. I think what it was is, I don't know if there was necessarily anything burning inside me from like day one, just kind of as I get into it and I saw things I didn't like and I'd like to change. And I'd be like, oh, I don't like how they do this. Or I don't like how they do that. Things like that. Things that I've kind of minded, oh, well, we should do it this way. And then I tried to implement change and say, hey, how can we start doing things? And it wasn't always like, So for me, I can say I'm somewhat a stubborn human being. So I'm sure that kind of drives some of it too. Wanting a certain vision and wanting a certain, outlook. Yeah, for me, it's just been, that's not necessarily something that was bred into me, but just something I've developed over time.
But that's also like, so then if you were that stubborn headset person, Johnny as well. So we're there, don't worry.
Yep.
But I also am the same way as you, where I can look at the data and I can self-reflect in the mirror and be like, maybe I'm a little off by this because the people are speaking. That's a power that I think not a lot of people have as well, because most people will be stubborn, they will be headstrong, and they will not stop being stubborn, and they will not stop being headstrong. And I think so what I'm trying to get at is your flexibility and willing to pivot, willing to be open is not only improved so much for you in a very short amount of time, because you started this business how long ago?
It's been about 6 years, 7 years.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, in the restaurant space, in the restaurant world, to advance from where you were square footage wise to then advance to the next one, to then advance to where we're sitting right now, that is an incredible trajectory in 6 years. And not to mention how we all have the statistics of 90-some% of the restaurants fail anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So not only are you compounding and growing, like it's just I want to compliment you for what you're doing. And I really want to compliment you for the openness to listening to the customer, while also not allowing the customer to control everything. But that's the old customer's always right. Only has a certain line.
Right. It does. Yeah. We get that too. It's kind of like with our menus. We don't allow certain modifications, and we want to control the food, basically so you can enjoy it, imagine comparing and things like that. And in business, it's like you need an ego, but it needs to be a healthy ego.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's hard to determine where the line falls, where you need to be strong and steadfast in your beliefs and push on it, and then sometimes to adjust.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things that I want people to understand that there's a lot of times today in the food and beverage world, especially in hospitality, you get a lot of things. And everybody wants to put their reviews up. They want to grow all their things and everything like that. And I think not too many people realize if you voice your opinion in a constructive manner, if you're an establishment that's like an independent operating, and I want to say all corporations are not saying change do listen to your complaints, but if you're an operation like this that's run by your local community, or if you're a tourist and you're run by people you can tell it's from your community, speaking to them directly can not only help their benefit and grow their business, but also helps you with returning business, like as a customer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And people don't realize, and this is a little bit of me being in the industry for so long, that those negative reviews you put up online do nothing but take down the business and tear the business down, as opposed to having a constructive conversation where maybe you just pop in and you're like, hey, is the owner here? Not like, is the owner here? I want to complain. You're like, literally, is the owner here? I'd love to talk about what he's doing. Love to see, like, this constructive way that I think that they would be understanding and it would be a different experience. They may or may not take your advice, but I can tell you, and you can probably say this as a business owner, if you got that kind of feedback over bad ads or a bad review or a one-star review that stays permanently on everything. Yeah, that's what people don't understand is like what we're talking about here, the pivoting, the flexibility. If you're a business owner who's willing to pivot, who's willing to be flexible, you're not going to take everybody's criticism and things, and you're not going to keep changing the theme every day because somebody told you they like to paint the 3 walls. Right. But at the same time, if somebody has a legit criticism and a legit thing, it benefits you and it benefits them in a constructive way. And I say this because we've dealt with this a few times. I've dealt with this in the podcast as well, where someone would have a 1-star review, and it's like, you ask them why, and they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't like this. And then when you explain it over email or whatever else, they realize that they had the context, and it didn't feel the same way at the end. But you know what? They never go back and take that review off. And people don't realize that permanent bump rate, that permanent pressure that's made on your gauges is not constructive. It might have felt good in the moment, but it's just not constructive. And not everybody, but there's a lot of people like you out there that are willing to receive criticism in a constructive manner.
Yeah, it's always great when somebody reaches out. We've had people that come in, sometimes it's like an awkward position.
It's always awkward.
A lot of people will just send over an email, which is always appreciated. Like, hey, I had this experience happen, and then maybe it's something like, or somebody be like, oh, this place doesn't have any access to, and for handicapped people, like, oh, they're all angry, 1-star review. Like, oh no, there's an elevator in the back, right? Things like that. But when people reach out via email or try to talk to us in person, that's always concerned. Because then it's like, hey, because I appreciate it, right? Because we need to know. If we don't know, we might not be aware of something that's going on. It might be a new piece of helpful information. It's like, oh, hey, cool. Like, you're not the first person that's experienced that. This is clearly a problem that we have that's trying to address this for their staff. Or, every time somebody says something, they always address it with their staff and talk. Kind of keeps it fresh in our mind because, again, as restaurant owners, we're not as privy, and it's also like trying to understand that we're a small business. We may appear as like some man of business, right? It's just me and my wife doing this thing. We're people. It's just kind of like I don't know. It's that thing. It's like when you have road rage and you feel like you're in and you're just like honking and screaming and that. Like, would you approach somebody face to face and talk to them in that manner? So
I think it's the old keyboard crusaders kind of thing. Every once in a while. So. Well, with that part too, like you and your wife are running this business. You're a family operation. You're embedded in the community. You're not a big corporation, despite the fact that when you walk in here, you're going to be overwhelmed at how beautiful this place is. And that's where I want people to really understand that when somebody like yourself advances to this next level, it doesn't mean you're all of a sudden a millionaire. It actually means the opposite.
Yeah.
It actually means the opposite to a business owner. It is, you've invested heavily, and probably in this transition, it's tight, and things are tight, and it's stressful. One of the most stressful times is when you're doing this. Right now, not to get into that and cut that wound for you, but for you and your wife, let's bring the human aspect of things. How do you guys balance your life? You have kids?
Yes.
So yeah, you guys have kids, you're a father, you're a mother, you have this business, you're growing at an exponential rate. How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a challenge. I mean, in our initial growth phase, there were some very challenging times. It was a very painful period. But I think every business goes through when you're new and you're fresh and you're just starting. And when we went from having like 3 customers a day, like we would be open 8 hours, but we served like 3 people, so that's what we started with. And I mean, these things are challenging, and your mind gets just full of doubt, and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? You're just constantly like questioning, but it takes a lot of, fortitude and kind of strength to say, hey, no, this is going to work. A little bit of like, let's say a little bit of crazy, to say, okay, this is going to work. We're going to push through. So, I mean, honestly, there were some really tough times moving through at the beginning that we had to work through. And, as stubborn as I can be a challenging human to, be married to. But at the end of the day, we've kind of struck a balance, and, even just saying small business owners, I don't want to be a small business owner so I can, have a flexible schedule. Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. It means we work 80 hours a week. That's really what you mean. So, it took us a while to hit our stride. But at least nowadays, coming into year 6, probably starting in year 5, we actually started to get into a schedule that was family friendly. So we had 3 kids, 3 and 6 months. So my wife started off working in the business, and now she's, just mom at home. So she takes care of the homestead. I take care of this beast. And, we've kind of figured out a balance where it's like, I value family, or, I always think of business, make sure it succeeds, but I have a great team behind me. It's not just me and this one, so they're the heartbeat and the people that really make this possible. So I'm able to kind of have a focus on both. And, for me right now, family can be a priority. That's number one with it, as long as I know that these guys have this handled. And, obviously I'm still in here and things, but, having a great team behind you.
And that's what it comes down to for a lot of people is being able to have that breadth. Once you get that team, that infrastructure, then you can kind of breathe and know that knowing every entrepreneur been through that moment, and telling, anybody that's out there starting their business, thank you for being honest and transparent. That we grew up on Entrepreneurial or Inc. magazine and all that stuff, and it's like, it was polished, and it was like, here, you do this and this will happen. And there's not enough stories out there, which is what my podcast is trying to get out. It's showing people that it sucks in the beginning. It's hard in the beginning. But if you have that fire and you have that drive, don't let it go out, because there's something on the other end that's waiting for you. But it is I try to let everybody know, it's not easy. You're gonna cry, you're gonna plead, you're gonna yell, you might punch a wall or two. But if you're doing demo and you're in a new place, you're set. You know what I mean? You got a great release. That's it's letting people know that and sitting with people like yourself. I respect everybody and every position that they do, but there's a special type of person that can go from a concept and a cocktail napkin to what we're sitting in right now. And that's just such magic and such power. And I just compliment you on everything that you're doing. And as we're closing out, I want people to know too, how many staff members in total, and as far as jobs in the community?
Yeah. So we'll have about 20 on staff here, 20 to 25 probably at the end of the day. A little bit on this space too. I think even just building this space to make it what it is and moving over to, we want to kind of elevate your experience in the restaurant. Kind of, work with a great team, to work with great interior designers, making sure the space is great, the great branding team, the owner here has been amazing at facilitating our move and making this happen for everybody. And I think it's investing and trusting in others to kind of help build your vision and realizing that you don't need to be a master of everything, but you can work with quality people and create great relationships, and that can produce, so that's awesome. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. This is just incredible. I can't wait for when you open and come back, and we'll do some shots of food and everything like that too.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks again, man.
You know my story, right? Rise the fame from the pain to glory, right? Heard from the source, he rips all the mics, names and all sort of lights. You sort of right.